I guess we could transition to another media beef at a whole another level of
This is gonna be
life.
fun. This is gonna be fun.
This is where we transition into politics. I mean, is this even politics? It feels like it's not even politics anymore. It's a high school beef now. It's like you said this about me, and now it's like.
So, okay, it's a high school beef. For those who don't know, like Manny and I consider ourselves progressives, and there are just people who are on YouTube who I guess are pretty influential in I wouldn't say our opinions. I think Manny and I pretty much come to our own conclusions with type of things, but where we get our news and, where our point of view is kind of shaped, it's like a leftist community. And, I don't trust MSNBC. There's a lot of like news sources I don't trust. So for me, I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but there are news personalities that range from Democratic to all the way to communist or even like socialist that I listen to just because I do. It just is what it is. It's a whole lefty sphere. And there's just been a lot of drama going around lately.
This is like if you're a normie Democrat in like 1960 and Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite just have this like Nas Jay-Z style beef. Like it's a blood feud type shit. You'll be sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? And you're trying to keep all the details and the particulars of everything. It's hard to. I've also lost track of like where we're at with everything. Listen, it all started with Aaron Mate, this excellent. He's the host of he's a host of I forget what his show is. I should remember. That's my bad. But he's a host. He's got his own podcast. He's also a writer. He does a lot of foreign policy stuff. But he's been one of the most avid writers and people when it comes to everything going on in Syria. And he's been a vocal detractor of the U.S. government's handling of the whole Syrian situation from the beginning. He's been like this, and as more things have come to light and as more of the lies have come to light, because, what a surprise. The United States lied about bombing another country for political expedience and gain. And this goes to the Obama administration. So Assad was not gassing his people, contrary to what the Democratic Party and people will have you believe. That has all been disproven and has been basically exposed to be bullshit and a lie. But anyway, Aaron Mate has been writing about this stuff for years and years upon end. And him and Cenk Uygur got into a big ass kerfuffle, and Cenk Uygur, who is the founder and host and benefactor and whatever else you want to call him of TYT, popular leftist news outlet on YouTube. I mean, even people that aren't leftists or even involved in politics have heard of TYT. So, Cenk Uygur is pretty much the main guy on TYT. Him and Aaron Mate basically got into a Twitter spat, and the thing really hit the fan when Cenk Uygur basically smeared Aaron Mate and called him a toady for the Syrian government, and that he is a Russian asset and all this other shit. I mean, yeah, I'm just giving you guys the Cliff Notes version because it's I'll take a page out of our friend Adam Mendelson or Mendelberg or Mendel shithead or whatever. He's exhausted about equity and equality for Black people. I'm exhausted about leftist community beef. So I'm just giving you kind of the tired Cliff Notes version of it. If you guys are interested, you guys can Google everything. I mean, if you even have any kind of ear to the street on politics at all, you know what's going on, because it's been probably one of the biggest news items in the political news sphere, at least on the left anyway, going on the last few weeks. So yeah, that's basically what's going on. So then obviously Cenk Uygur and Aaron Mate get into it, and then obviously a bunch of people in the leftist community get involved, and they start calling out Cenk Uygur for being full of shit and TYT for being full of shit. And now you have Jimmy Dore who's already got his own issues with TYT. He takes the side of Aaron Mate, and then obviously you get Jimmy Dore involved, and it just becomes this nuclear thing.
That's the problem to me. That's the problem to me.
I suspect that me and you are going to disagree on this. So I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the whole process as we stand today, or not process, but the whole situation as we stand today? And so basically your biggest issues with the whole Jimmy Dore thing.
So for me, it's not even the Aaron Mate, whatever you described. For the record, I don't know his work. For the record, I'm not a big fan of Cenk Uygur. I'm just not. I'm not a big fan of TYT. I don't go to TYT for any of my news. I think they're very hyperbolic. I think they're very sensationalist, and I don't trust them. I just don't. I like Anna. I like John. I like them as individuals, but as a network, I don't I don't. So for me, like, even if Jimmy's beefs with Jank on that were valid, to me, the way he handles things is so fucking toxic that it absolutely is destroying any type of coalition that we could have on the left, period. I know that you can say the same thing about Jank calling out somebody who and I'm gonna take your word for it because I do believe you, that calling out somebody unjustly and saying that, you know, he's whatever he is, and that can cause a lot of grift and everything like that. But the way that Jimmy Dore handles a lot of things, which is calling out the squad, calling out Kyle Kalinske out of all people, going to war with Anna Kasparian, where he pretty much admits that he sexually harassed her and laughed about it and then try to justify it on his show. To me, you can have beefs, you can have spats, you can have disagreements, we can have little mini fights, but they should never go nuclear. And they always go nuclear because of Jimmy Dore. And Jimmy Dore has no right calling himself a progressive, has no right being the gatekeeping to progressive values. And I say this all the time to you, Manny. I might have said it on the show, but you have no business calling yourself a progressive if during the Democratic primary you supported Tulsi Gabbard. That is ridiculous. That is absurd. And for him to attack the squad, for him to attack AOC because of their stance on the forced to vote situation, when you supported a woman who didn't even support Medicare for all during the primary, was very disingenuous. It seemed very grifty. It seemed very opportunistic. And I feel like everything he's doing now is just that. For him to call Kyle Kalinske, after Kyle Kalinske did a whole nuanced video explaining that he just agreed with your point of view, Manny, what you just said, he agreed with. And Jimmy, out of just attacks him and calls Kyle Kalinske a dishonest player. This is, I know a lot of people don't know who he is if you're not familiar with us, but Kyle Kalinske basically to me is probably the purest of purists. I don't agree with him with everything, but I do think that he takes a stance on what he believes in. He will criticize the left, he will criticize the right, and he will do it justly. He's not a grifter. He believes what he believes, and he sticks to his principles. For Jimmy Dore to come to Kyle Kalinske like that, after Kyle basically, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, gave him an easy pass on his video, to me is absolutely insane. I think this man is toxic. If you go on his YouTube page, I guarantee you, if you go on his YouTube page, I actually can guarantee this because I looked it up. All his videos are indistinguishable from a Tim Pool video page, from a Daily Wire video page. All he does is attack the Democratic Party, the allies of the Democratic Party. Everything's on Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, the squad. Anything that has to do with the left, he's attacking. You never see him calling out the Ted Cruzes of the world. You know, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world. 95% of his videos are attacking the left. And if you are attacking the left, you damn sure better be sure that you're attacking the right as well. I think you can criticize the left. I think you can criticize the Democratic Party. I think you can criticize centrism, but you have to do it in a way where you just don't turn people into like this right populist that I think he's doing. I think if you look at his live chats, if you look at the shows that he's on, if you look at the chats that he's on, these people are sometimes indistinguishable between fucking Proud Boys. These people are right populists, and he's forming right not he positives for this movement. If anything, he's killing everything you and I and any leftist is working hard for. He's a cancer. And I can understand why someone would be mad at Cenk for saying what he said, especially if it's not true. And I'm going to take your word that it's not true, especially if it's not true. And I do think that Cenk does deserve some blowback and some criticism and maybe a little bit of a fight here and there, but not in the way that Jimmy's doing it. Jimmy is literally taking on everybody and anybody who says a negative thing about him, and he's blowing it up. His show has become completely toxic. To me, it's really killing any type of movement that we have. I have a huge problem with him. A huge problem with him. Huge.
I can't tell. I can't tell where you stand on this, for sure.
It's ridiculous,
really?
Man.
For those listening or watching, you rarely get Josh worked up like this. So you really got to trigger him on some shit. For real. I'm usually the worked up one. Listen, man, I'm with you. I'm not even the biggest, like, I know it comes off like I'm a big Jimmy Dore fan. I'm not. Like, no, I don't think I like him more. I like him more than you, but I'm not like the biggest Jimmy Dore fan. I'm actually more of a Kyle Kalinske fan than Jimmy Dore, but whatever.
Same. Yeah.
But I don't think Jimmy Dore is a grifter. I don't think Jimmy Dore is not really a leftist. I think he believes, like Kyle Kalinske said, Jimmy Dore is legit in his views and what he believes in. I think he's really a leftist. I think he really believes that he's about the shit that we're about. Like in life, you're not always going to see eye to eye with people. You're not always going to agree with their tactics. You're not even going to like certain people that agree with you on certain things. My issue with this whole thing is that people are running to bash Jimmy Dore because of his history and because of his proclivities, and not look at the general issue that is Cenk Uygur and TYT using his platform to smear someone. And like, to me, calling someone a Russian asset or calling someone a, basically a toady for a certain dictatorship or government, that shit is dangerous. Like, that's dangerous. That's hyperbolic. And it's like, we live in this. And the thing that bothers me now more than ever is that we live in this society and we live in this world where if you don't agree with me, we can no longer like agree to disagree. You are my enemy. You ain't shit. And oh, by the way, you're a Nazi. You're
But
a
who's
racist.
the one leftist who's doing that? Kalinsky doesn't do that. Sam Cedar doesn't do that.
But Cenk did that.
Cenk didn't do Cenk. Okay, fair. Go ahead. But who consistently does it?
But again, you're falling into the same trap, right? Like, again, you don't have to like Jimmy Dore. My issue with Jimmy Dore is like, Jimmy Dore is, I agree with you. Jimmy Dore is toxic in the way that he handles things. I think everybody will admit that the way he handles situation.
I'm sorry. For the record, I didn't see that. I know the Cenk thing. I didn't see it. But go ahead.
Okay, but he basically attacked this man Aaron Mate, who basically discrediting his work using TYT. A lot of people listen to TYT. You or I don't, but a lot of people follow, a lot of leftists who don't know any better, follow TYT, hang on to every word that Cenk, Anna, John, whoever, and this entire network say and do. And for you to come out and basically smear this man as being bought or an agent or a double agent, that's dangerous. This man's on the front lines in Syria. Like, this man is like, you're sullying this man's reputation because you don't agree with him or because you don't like that he called you out on past tweets or in past behavior that you've had or past fucked up shit that you've said. Cenk Uygur, who himself has said terrible things, toxic things, right? My thing is, two wrongs don't make a right. Cenk is wrong, Jimmy's wrong. But too many people are quick to discount the point that Jimmy Dore is making because of Jimmy Dore's own history and his own past. And it's like, to me, each side keeps launching grenades and bombs at each other and inflicting more casualties. And it's like, it's taking everybody down with them. Like, you bring up the whole sexually assaulting or sexually harassing Anna Kasparian. Gross. And Jimmy's whole explanation of it, or lack of thereof, was cringy. But it was also cringy what TYT did, which is basically kind of like using it as almost blackmail, of like, hey, don't get too out of line. We got this in the chamber ready to load it and fire it off whenever and ready. Like, that's how they did it. That's how it all came to light, essentially, was that Anna Kasparian basically like DM'd this shit to Jimmy Dore and was like, yo, in as many words as you can say, like, hey, back up.
You sexually harassed me and I want to tell the world you sexually harassed me.
Yes. Now that doesn't erase what happened. Obviously, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that erases what Anna Kasparian may have had to go through or whatever. I'm just saying that, to me, both parties are foul. Anna Kasparian's foul for using that as basically blackmail, and Jimmy Dore's foul for doing the deed to begin with, and then I guess doubling down or trying to downplay it or whatever Jimmy did. Look, both sides are wrong. That's what I'm saying. I just feel like too many people like to bag on Jimmy Dore because it's the easy. Jimmy Dore right now is low hanging fruit. It's low hanging fruit. You have a lot of people who just don't like Jimmy Dore. So, like, this man could literally say, the sky's blue. Oh, fucking Jimmy Dore. What a piece of shit. Like, and it's like, well, the guy is right. The sky is blue. You may not like him. You don't have to. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm just saying, like, people do that. Because I know a lot of people like you that can't stand Jimmy Dore, that thinks he's toxic, that think he's the double agent, that think he's the guy that's actually a secret right populist and all this other shit. And I'm like, yo, the guy is authentic about what he believes in. Now, you don't have to agree with what he believes in. You don't have to agree how he goes about things. I don't. But to me, it's like when two kids are like, when your two kids are in trouble, right? Like one smacks the other, and they both get into a fist fight. They're both wrong. One started it, but they're both wrong. You punish both of them, and to me, it's like both of them deserve to be scolded, and both of them deserve to take heat on what's going on because they're both wrong. Yes, Jimmy, you may not like how Jimmy Dore handled his side of the situation. You may not like the way Cenk handled his side of the situation, but they're both wrong, and they're both killing the left.
So my thing is
nobody wins in this.
I'm not looking at this as Cenk versus Jimmy. This is not. I'm looking at this as like, here we go, fucking again with Jimmy. Like I don't like. He might be right about coming at Cenk. You know, Cenk might have said whatever he said, and it might have been wrong, and he deserves criticism. It's not the fact that he criticized Cenk. It's the fact that if I go on his YouTube channel right now and I look at his videos, all it is demonizing, criticizing.
But that's a
shitting
separate,
on, dunking on.
That's a separate. Again,
I'm not
conflating two different issues.
No, see, this is the thing. I know what you're saying. I'm not debating you on who's right in that situation. My whole point is that Jimmy Dore is toxic. Period. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you who was right in the Cenk versus Jimmy Dore issue. That's you. I don't care about that.
But people are conflating that as the issue. Like, okay, we know that Jimmy Dore is toxic. We can agree on what levels of toxicity he has, but whatever. Jimmy Dore is toxic. We both agree. Yeah. That being said, the issue isn't Jimmy Dore's toxicity. The issue is Aaron Mate got smeared, and a bunch of people, Jimmy Dore included, came to his defense, and TYT is wrong, and everybody knows that TYT is wrong, and they've yet to issue an apology. All TYT had to do is say, yo, you know what, we were wrong. That's not right. We may not agree with Aaron Mate. We may not see eye to eye, and we may not like certain things that he does, but to sit there and basically sully this man's reputation, put this man at risk, literally put him at risk. Like, and I
could agree with that. I could agree with that. I can 100% get behind that. But when Kyle Kalinske comes on and says exactly what you just said, because I watched Kyle's video, when Kyle comes on and says exactly what you just said, and then kind of goes, well, you know, Jimmy shouldn't probably have sexually harassed a girl. And then Jimmy goes off on Kyle the way he went off. I mean, Manny, like, this guy is unhinged. So, to me, like, I get what you're saying. And I think you and I were talking about two separate things. Like, I'm not here, like, my whole discussion with you right now, I'm more focused on who's ever listening, and you is just Jimmy Dore, period. Whatever beef he has with TYT, whether he has valid points or not, I don't care if he has valid points or not. I don't. I really don't. Because honestly, those valid points that you just said, Kyle has brought them up. They have been circulating. It's not like Jimmy Dore is like the only person who thinks this.
But he's one of the first high-profile people that came to defense of Aaron Mate. And now, obviously, Glenn Greenwald is involved. And Glenn Greenwald is Oh, you're not a Glenn Greenwald fan? Okay.
My point is that I think Jimmy Dore right now, the way he's behaving is very self-serving. I think he's very toxic to the left. I don't think he does anything out of his self-interest. He's a hypocrite. I can't even tell you what he stands for. I can't even tell you what he stands for anymore, man.
But is Jimmy Dore wrong? Has Jimmy been wrong on policy?
Has Jimmy Dore been wrong on policy? Yes. It depends on what policy. Because you're going to tell me
on forced to vote, he was right.
No, he was not. He's not right about that. Okay. He was not right about that.
We won't get into that because we'll be here all night. But we disagree on that.
Honestly, I can't even give Jimmy the standing that he supports Medicare for all because of who he supported in the Democratic primary. I can't even give him the standing. I don't even believe you. Listen, I don't believe him.
The Tulsi thing was bad, but okay, we're just gonna bring up the Tulsi thing. But a lot of people's beef with the Tulsi thing wasn't even like her lack of support for Medicare for all, was that she basically gave Assad a pass and that didn't want to basically, because everybody basically said that she's a toady for Assad, right? Now come to find out, she might have been right, or she may have known something that we all didn't know.
But it's not even that, dude. It's the fact that you torch the squad, specifically AOC. You go after AOC, and did you see his rant on AOC basically saying he made her famous?
Yes. Again, I'm not arguing with you. All I'm saying is that, but again, when people get into these fights about Jimmy Dore, like, oh, he's toxic and this, and I'm like, I agree with you, but there's the problem with Jimmy Dore is that there is a sliver of truth in what he's saying. It's just how he's saying it and how he goes about it.
I think
the squad is ripe for criticism. Like
I think everybody in the Democratic Party should be criticized justly, and I do think there are a lot of criticisms you can throw the way of the squad. You can throw the way. I'm not saying you can't, but Kyle Kalinske does it, and I have no problem with Kyle Kalinske. Cedar does it. I have no problem with Sam Cedar. You know what I mean? Like there are a bunch of players on YouTube who do it, and they do it in a way where it's honest and it's not as freaking dramatic and as toxic and as hyperbolic as what Jimmy Dore does. Yeah. But I'm not kidding. Like I know I keep saying this, but like
you're right.
I'm for the first time in any given Sunday history, I'm gonna share my screen, dude. Like I swear to you, look at
Let's
this.
Do it.
Look at this. All of this is about here's Biden, Kyle Kalinske, and admitting facts. Rachel Maddow, Obama, Joe Manchin, Biden, MSNBC, Schumer. I hate to say this, man, but like we are literally the opposition to the Democratic Party are like neo-fascist right now. Neo-fascist. And for me, if you're not bringing that into the conversation, if you can criticize the Democratic Party, but if you are being irresponsible and not going, you know what? But those Ted Cruzes, those Madison Cawthorns and those guys, they're fucking crazy too. You're not showing that side. You are doing a disservice, and all you're doing is if an alt-righter or someone who's prone to the alt-right sees Jimmy Dore's YouTube page, what conclusions do you think that person's going to come to? What conclusions can you possibly come to going to Jimmy Dore's page and not being in? There's nothing about the Republican Party. There's nothing about Trump. There's nothing about their fascistic ways or anything like that. It's all Democratic Party. It's all leftist. It's him shitting on lefty YouTubers. What do you think they're going to think? They might have populist views, but you know who has populist views too? Tucker Carlson has popular views, and he thinks like a right-winger. That's my problem with Jimmy. Okay. And then also, so when you promote Tulsi Gabbard and you go after the squad and you go after AOC for not supporting Medicare for all, but you supported a candidate in the Democratic Party who did not support Medicare for all, like you are a huge hypocrite, dude. And it's hard for me to say, well, he believes in this because you're not being consistent with how you're voting, with who you're supporting. So I don't know what he believes.
All solid points. Not wrong on anything that you just said. I agree with you. I agree with 100% that you just said. My only thing with the Jimmy Dore thing, and I've had other people say like, "Oh, you're a Jimmy Dore fan." Like, I'm not a Jimmy Dore fan. Like, I don't.
You're not.
Like, I honestly don't really listen to him. There's some videos that come to my radar that like, oh, okay, he makes good points on this one, cool. And then there's other things that I just completely ignore. Like, it is what it is. It's like I have a very take it or leave it attitude with Jimmy Dore. My issue with the whole Jimmy Dore thing is, like you said, right? Like, oh, if you're not bringing up that the right is just as bad, if not worse, and terrible, and yada, 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 then you're doing a disservice. And yes, I agree. But I feel like a lot of people already know that the right isn't shit. Some don't. A lot don't. A lot.
I'm telling you, this is how the alt-right pipeline works, bro. I'm telling you. You get a kid on. Right? Okay, sorry.
We no, it's okay. We're having a discussion here. I'm trying to find a perfect example. Let's use somebody we both know. Let's use our friend Ray Jarvis, right? So Ray Jarvis, you guys may not know him, host of Gray Area Podcast. Shout out to Ray Jarvis, whatever. But we're going to use you as an example on the show, right? So we both know Ray. Ray's black guy from New York, really dope show, really dope podcaster, content creator, whatever, yada, yada, all that. So he's kind of a casual political engager, right? So he knows that the Republican Party ain't shit just because, he's black in America. So one would think you'd think the Republican Party isn't shit and doesn't align with your best interest. But he may not know everything that there is to know about leftist politics and some of the issues of the Democratic Party. So if I go up to Ray Jarvis and I say, hey, just start talking to him about politics, he already knows Ted Cruz ain't shit. Now I can enlighten him even further on the issues of the Republican Party and to the levels of rot that exists in that party. But it'd be more beneficial for me and more beneficial for everybody involved to say, hey man, don't just pin your hopes and your good fortunes on the Democratic Party, because there's a lot of issues on the left as well. There's a lot of issues on the Democratic Party side of things as well. There's a lot of issues with these. Again, we talked about it, Greenwich liberals, right? That say one thing and do others. The BLM blocks in the background, even though you're still funding police departments across this nation. you take knee, you'll take knee, you'll kneel in front of in Washington with with dashikis and shit, but still have yet to pass any meaningful reparations acts or anything that helps and benefits equity and equality for Black people, right? All those things, right? And we just like highlight these things. To me, that does more than just making a video. Like you and I, and we can get 100 views today to talk about how terrible Ted Cruz is. We know that. we can do a video about how horrible Marjorie Taylor Greene is. We know that. But if we start discussing like, yo, the Joe Manchins of the world, the people that Joe Biden's record on criminal justice, like all of these things that bring up that need to be enlightened, that does more for political discourse, and that does more for understanding the rot that exists in politics as a whole, not just left, right. I think that does more to enlighten people on these issues than just like saying, oh yeah, the left, the right is terrible, and like, okay, I guess we could say the Democratic Party is not as great as it should be, but at least they're not the Republicans. Like that to me is just not that to me is not leveraging political power, and that's not speaking truth to power. Like to me, real truth to power is saying, no, we have a deep rot in this country of the political system, and the political system that divides us, and it's a deep rot on both sides.
And Jimmy doesn't do the both sides. Jimmy goes, there's a deep rot in our political system, and the deep rot is the Democratic Party and every lefty YouTuber who does not believe what I say or goes against me. I don't mind the both sides. Kyle does it perfectly. Kyle Clinton.
And this is why me and you both listen to listen to Kyle Kalinske and not Jimmy Dore. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I'm someone who I'm not as purist as Kyle, but I respect the shit out of Kyle. Kyle does it perfectly. If you go to Kyle's YouTube page, I guarantee you he has videos of criticizing Biden. He has videos of criticizing the squad. He has videos, but he also has videos of like reminding you of how fucking crazy Trump is and how crazy, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like you will get a full range of the whole political spectrum if you subscribe to Secular Talk. I don't know if you agree, but I'm a Sam Cedar guy. I think Sam Cedar does the same thing. Now that show's not the same since Michael Brooks passed away in my mind, but I still think he does it. So David Pakman's another one. David's way more centrist than I am with his opinions, but as far as the newest is concerned, he will criticize Biden. He will criticize their administration. But he would also let you know, like, hey, the right is also at fault with a lot of different things, and this is where they stand. And if they take power, this is what will happen. If you go to Jimmy Dore's page, all it is like I said, if I just read you the titles and played the game, Jimmy Dore or Tim Pool, you would not know the difference. And that is a problem. That is a huge problem because populism is very easy to latch onto. And there's a huge difference between left-wing populism and right-wing populism. And what he's breeding is right-wing populism, whether he means to do it or not. That's what he's doing.
Fair point. Again, and I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm not even saying I don't agree 100%. I just, again, people get caught up too much in the Jimmy Dore because, again, he's easy fodder to get caught up in because he is so divisive and he is so hyperbolic that he just drive people's opinions one way or another. I just think that, to me, don't focus so much on Jimmy Dore, focus on the overall issue at hand. And in the particular case of this whole kerfuffle that's going on, it's about TYT's just gross mischaracterization and smearing of Aaron Mate. And again, and it just, to me, and I think that's why I'm so triggered by this, is again because it just speaks to the level of discourse that we have in our society today, where it's like, if you don't agree with me 100% on everything I stand for, everything I am saying, from the GOAT debate in basketball to, fucking Medicare for all, you're not only wrong, you're terrible, you're paid for by LeBron's marketing team, or you're a toady for the Russian and Assad government. Like, it's these hyperbolic statements like, yo, maybe I just don't agree with you, and that's okay. I don't agree. Like, me and you don't agree on a lot of things, but I'm not gonna sit here and call you out and like, oh, fuck Josh Rodriguez, he's a fucking like, no, I just don't agree with Josh. Like, I just don't agree with you, and you don't agree with me, and that's okay. And it's like, we have to get back to that. We have to get back to saying like, yo, we agree to disagree. There's certain things that we can't agree or disagree on. Like, if you don't think my life matters, or you don't value my life, or you don't think that I should have a fair shot at equity and equality, then there's nothing to agree or disagree on. We just fuck you, like, respectfully, right? Everything else on policy, We can agree to disagree. There's some people that I have family members. I love them to death. I don't agree with them on politics. Like, it's fine. We agree to disagree.
I just think Jimmy's the champion of the problem you just said. The Jordan,
He is
the Michael Jordan of that. And that's a
is.
problem. And I think a lot, he's very influential, and I think a lot of people can be turned the wrong way if he becomes their main voice.
Sadly,
Especially if he's attacking alternatives like Kalinsky.
Yeah. With him, it's like everybody gets bombed now because
come on, man, like
if you dare show dissent, no, and
that's
and
then he's going on Tucker Carlson show. Like, come on, like, bro, like, what are you going on Tucker Carlson show for? That's insane. That's insane. I know that was months ago. To be fair to Jimmy, I'm not, it was a long time ago. But like, come on, man, like this is.
So you're saying you would never go on Tucker Carlson show?
If I went on Tucker Carlson show, I would insult Tucker Carlson and Fox News the whole time. I wouldn't attack the Democrats.
I would. Yeah, you're right.
I wouldn't bash anything about the Democratic Party because I know what the listeners are thinking. I know what the viewers are thinking. So my whole time on Fox News would be like, you are a liar, you are a white nationalist, and your audience needs to know that these are the facts.
Facts. But I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing too. He doesn't do that. Yeah.
But what he does is he goes, oh, these, like, I forgot everything. A lot of his appearance, but basically he was saying how like this person was a Democratic shill for the Democratic Party, and it's like, well, you're feeding into a narrative that Tucker's trying to create. Who do you think listens to, like, what audience do you think you're obtaining now? Now someone's watching Tucker Carlson and says, oh God, Jimmy Dore makes sense. Now they go to your page. Now they see all you do is criticize the Democratic Party. Who do you think his audience is? And this is not saying his whole audience. Like, you're on the Vanguard all the time. I think those guys are pure as shit. I like them. I think they're comrades. I think they're dope. I think they're true leftists. I'm not saying everyone who listens to Jimmy's like that, but it's not a coincidence that a lot of his audience is right populist, because they are. If you watch his comment section,
man, it's
kind of concerning.
You're not wrong. I agree with you 100%. To me, my whole point, and we can wrap up with this, but my whole point is that, like, stop. I'm focusing on the smearing of Aaron Mate and what it speaks about just general discourse in our country and our political discourse as a whole right now. That's my focus on. Jimmy Dore is Jimmy Dore. He's going to do what he does. We blow up. He might attack us because he doesn't think we're left in it.
Oh, I guarantee he would. And he'd hate me.
And if he does, then we listen. Jimmy Dore ain't seen shit yet. We're hyperbolic too. We want to smoke all day, every day. My thing is, like, people, the older I've gotten, soon to be 35, the older I've gotten, it's just like, if people show you who they really are, you believe them. Jimmy Dore has shown us all who he really is. So you can't shock me and surprise me anymore. Like, I know who you are anymore. I've passed that point now. Now I'm at the point of, like, okay, let's speak to what's really going on. And to me, what's really going on is we've lost the ability to have political arguments and disagreements with folks, and we just go to hyperbolic statements where we're smearing people and we're saying you aren't who you say you are, or you're a double agent, or you're this, that, and the other, to avoid having real substantive conversation. And I think that's what's going on. That's kind of the macro point that I'm trying to make. It's that, like, because to me, Cenk Uygur and TYT is just as bad as Jimmy Dore. They're just not as loud. They're just not as loud.
In the beginning, and like I said in the beginning, I don't listen to TYT. I don't get my news from TYT because I think he used the words, they're sensationalist and very hyperbolic. It turns me off from them. So like, so for me, like, to be honest, I couldn't even tell you what they've been saying the past few years. If I'm being honest, I listen to Damage Report every once in a while just because I like John.
I like John Ariel, and it's not everybody on that network.
Yeah.
I used to like Anna, but even her coverage over the last, and then of course you heard about the money that TYT allegedly took in from Jeff Katzenberg and all those folks.
I think TYT loses their whole, like, when they focus on Russiagate, and it's just like, dude, like, let it go.
and they never apologize. They've never. Yeah.
I think that turns off a lot of leftists. But yeah, I mean, listen, I get what you're saying. If we're gonna have policy discussion, we should talk about policy. And even though I might have my feelings towards Jimmy Dore, at the end of the day, if he's right about Mate, then he's right about Mate, and that is what it is. And Cenk should be held responsible, and he should apologize. That's your point, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes,
okay. I agree with that.
And like, stop letting TYT, because what TYT has successfully done now is that they've changed the conversation from being hey, TYT is wrong and they've smeared this guy undeservedly, to like, oh, look how fucking batshit, Jimmy Dore is. So they've deflected the total.
But
They turned
Jimmy
the camera.
Jimmy did him no favors though.
Did him no favors. I agree. But again, it's that whole thing of people show you who they really are, you believe them, so they no longer can trick you, they can no longer deceive you. It's like what Jimmy, to me, it's like I'm not shocked that we're here with this with Jimmy Dore, because it's like this is who he always is. So it's like it is what it is to me. But yeah, there's more to come. There's going to be more fire, and we'll close with this. The sad thing about all of this is that it's honestly just fracturing the left, and it's hurting more than it's doing more harm than it is doing more good. And that's the sad part about it, because again,
Yeah.
I wish that we live in a world, I don't want to live in a world where everybody agrees with everybody. That's disgusting and gross. Who wants that? I want there to be discourse. I want there to be disagreements. I want there to be sensitive discussions and arguments. But this is not what I want. This isn't beneficial. This isn't a democracy. This isn't the ideal space to be in. Right? We're having discussions about, did Jimmy Dore sexually harass Anna Kasparian and all this other bullshit. Like, what is that solving? It's not solving anything.
No, I think that speaks to character. You're right though. I get what you're saying. Like, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about, XYZ. But Jimmy's the one who, from my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, because I honestly think I might be wrong here. But he's the one who brought it up and said, "Look at this is the tweet. Anna blackmailed me." Right. That's how that came into fruition. Like, that's how the whole topic. So he's the one who brought it out, not her. And then she explained what the hell happened. So, and honestly, is that really blackmail, where it's just kind of like, yo, you sexually harassed me, man. Like, I haven't been telling anybody. Like, shut the fuck up.
But I don't even want to get in, because then it's going to come off Jimmy Dore.
No. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but it's almost like, to me, blackmail is like, I have a naked picture of you and like I'm going to embarrass. Like he literally did something wrong. Like, he literally like sexually harassed a woman. So to me, it's like, when I think blackmail, I think this is information that can expose you. Like it's a different type of information. If you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but I think
she was a victim in a situation exposing a crime that was committed against her. To me, that's not really blackmail. It's like, you did this to me. I'm a victim of this, and I haven't told anybody. I'm coming out with it. So to me, like, to take Jimmy's side and like, well, Anna blackmailed him. It's like, well, she was the fucking victim here. Like, how could you possibly like side with Jimmy on this?
You had me until the victim part. The issue with the Anna Kasparian thing, it wasn't that she portrayed it as she was the victim. She was portrayed it as, hey, something happened. You made an inappropriate comment. You apologize. We were good. Now, years later, I'm weaponizing this to benefit the narrative and the conversation. That's how it was perceived. Now, obviously, when you go down that road with that, you make yourself look bad, because again, it's like you're saying, well, forget that. Women, the whole Me Too thing, it's like, oh, well, that's not important. This is important. It's like it's a slippery slope. I think a lot of people have problems with, like, it's like, well, if you had a problem, why didn't you out Jimmy Dore back then? You made peace with this man and it was all good. Now, because you and Jimmy Dore and your company are beefing and he's been calling you out on your bullshit, now you weaponize your experience with him to make Jimmy Dore look bad. It's like that's
so it's almost like that experience didn't affect you the way it did. You're just saying it did because you want to make Jimmy look bad.
Bingo. That's where people kind of like, okay, well, hold on now. I'm not saying that happened or that he's not wrong for doing what he did, but to me, it's like you can't also weaponize what happened to you for political gain and expedience. It's like that's not cool.
Don't clutch your pearls 5 years later when you didn't clutch your pearls back then.
Bingo. And you didn't, right? That and that's what rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because it was just like, wait, hold on now. Jimmy's wrong. We know that, but if you weren't upset 5 years ago and you weren't using it for gain and narratives, then
what I'll say to that is that we don't know if she was upset or not, and we don't know what her process was. It was sleeping under the rug, so she might have held on to it.
And for the record, she was upset. He issued an apology. Like, so she probably never got over it. The point is, don't perceive Anna Kasparian as like, oh, this poor victim that's just now telling her story. Like, Anna Kasparian knew what she was doing. She tried to make Jimmy Dore look bad. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that that doesn't negate the fact that Jimmy Dore did something terrible and sleazy. That doesn't negate
Right.
that. And I want to again reiterate that. I'm just saying that both parties are wrong. Is my main.
We can settle on that.
We can settle on that. Both parties are wrong.
That.
But yeah, man, it's terrible. It's terrible. This whole thing. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's great theater. It's just, it's great theater because every day.
It's just really frustrating to watch. I mean, just from my perspective, where it's like we have to build some type of coalition here. I've become this. You and I are at our most different. Where I think you're more purist, and I'm too pragmatic as a fault sometimes. And I think when I see things like this, I'm like, how the hell is the left ever going to come together if we can't even like agree on anything? Like we're not making any compromises on anything. We're not setting any goals of like, hey, let's get here so we can get here. It's like, this is what I believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, F you, F that. And it's like, when I see who's doing that, the main culprit of that is Jimmy Dore. Period. And I think TYT might be, bad players in this as well. There's a reason why I don't listen to them. There's a reason why I don't watch their YouTube videos, because I recognize they were hyperbolic and sensationalist from the moment I started watching their. But we have a president right now who's a centrist. We have a Democratic Party that's kind of in charge, and that can very quickly change in 2024, especially if Trump runs again. And to me, that alternative is way worse than what we got going on right now. Right now, we need to figure out a plan. We need to figure out some goals as a leftist community that we want to reach, that we want to demand of Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, and move forward from there. Because if we keep fighting, before we know it's 2024, and then Trump's back in the White House, and who knows what happens this time.